Hello, good afternoon. Welcome to Eagle Public Library. My name is Anne, and this is our teen class today. I have a pretty crazy project. I may have overcommitted to this one, and I had an epic fail. Have you ever had that happen with a crafting project? It happens. So I saw this really cool YouTube video and some instructions about how to make a t-shirt rag rug. Seemed like a great idea. You take a hula hoop that you can buy at the dollar store or maybe find out in your garage with the outdoor toys and old t-shirts. There's some sewing. It seemed like the best idea ever. So I made one of these. It's amazing. Well, mine didn't turn out too great. I have decided to call it a cat basket, well, I don't know, something. So the good news is one of my friends has some stray cats that come to her patio, and we're going to use that for this. Yeah, it's going to be a stray cat basket. It'll be comfy and warm. It's all t-shirts, but this was what happened to my first t-shirt rag rug. And I will tell you, I learned a whole bunch of stuff. So I have a whole bunch of what went wrong so that I can give you some hints when you go to do yours. I think it should be easy. I made a lot of mistakes. So I'm going to teach you what not to do when you make your t-shirt rag rug. It's a great project because who doesn't have a ton of t-shirts hanging around? And maybe a hula hoop, or just go grab one at the dollar store and you're ready to go. So let's get started. I'm hoping this one will come out way better. That's the plan anyway. So what you're going to do, we are going to build what's called the weft, and that is the spoke type pieces that are going to go around the outside of our hula hoop. So these are just a cut piece, and then I stretched them off the bottom of a t-shirt. So what you want to do to start is cut that little edge of the bottom that looks like that has the stitching. Cut that off at the bottom of your t-shirt. And then what you want to do is just start cutting about 1 inch to 2 inch strips across the t-shirt, all the way across the body of the t-shirt, and get it cut. The strips, here's where one mistake I did make. I did not make them exactly the same width, and I used different kinds of t-shirt material. So what I think is going to be the best is if you use maybe 100% cotton or 90% cotton t-shirts. What I did with this one, I started with the cotton t-shirts, and that's about to here, and that part laid flat, but then I added in some of the kind of stretchy rayon, lycra t-shirts, and I think that I maybe made the strips and the stitching too tight, or the weaving, and it made it curl all up. So we don't want to do that. So I think with this one, I'm going to start out with all 100% cotton, and I've already cut a whole bunch of strips. So we have our white strips I'm going to use for the weft. Your strip, when you've cut across the body of the t-shirt, is about 1 inch, is going to look like this. It'll be connected, which is perfect. That's what we want for our weft. And we're just going to start putting that weft around the outside of this hula hoop. Some of these I had stretched too much. They're going to be a little too big. So I'm just going to tie a knot in the end, kind of a little slip knot here. You see if I can show you what I'm doing a little bit better. So I'm just going to tie a little slip knot here to hold these together, because you do want the weft kind of taut. You want it not so loose. So I'm going to do that all the way around here where I've already got some of that weft on. We're going to tie those just a little bit tighter because we want that to stay pretty tight and not move around on us. What I think I could or should have done, mine moved around quite a bit on the first one. I'm going to tape these down where I want them, because mine kept sliding around when I was weaving, and they kind of moved a bit. So I think that would be another thing you'd want to do. And I brought some masking tape so we can tie these down and make them nice and taut. I'm going to tie it, and then I'm going to tape them in place. So let's do that. What you want to do is have 6 of these strips from your t-shirt to go around the outside. And that's going to make 12 spokes, because as you see, they cross in the middle and it makes a spoke on each side of the circle. And you want them equally spread apart here on the sides so that your weaving will be nice and straight. I think that was an issue with mine. So we can tie this little loop. If your t-shirts are nice and tight on the hula hoop, then you don't need to tie that little knot in the end. But mine got a little loose, so I'm just going to tie that so things stay pretty tight. You want your spokes in the middle, so I think I've got all 6 on here. 4, 5, 6, yeah, 7, 8, 9, 10. Oh, nope, I've only got 5. Let's do one more. So let's put this one here, and we're going to tie that nice and tight. And then I'm going to spread these apart on the edges of my hula hoop equal distant. So these strips are about 1 inch wide. And I'll show you something that ended up being really cool. You can use scissors to do your cutting, but I also have this, which is a rotary cutter, kind of like a pizza cutter. I don't know if you have one of these at home for crafting. It is an amazing tool for cutting fabric. We actually have this here at the library. It comes in a little bag like this, and you can borrow it. I will return it as soon as we're done with this, so you could borrow this from our library of things. And this is called a rotary cutter. It's in our craft section. So this is great. You are going to want kind of a little cutting mat or something to protect your table that you're cutting on, because this thing is sharp. It's very sharp. It's kind of razor sharp. And you're not going to want to cut through your table or countertop. So make sure you have something to protect if you borrow the rotary cutter. So now I think I've got all of these strips on. And this is really the beginning. I should have paid more attention to the beginning of mine and made sure these were tight. And I think I should have put one more. I think I only have 8 of these little spokes coming out, and I think that's going to help. So what I also am going to do is take some of this masking tape, and I'm going to just start taping the edge down to my hula hoop, and then I can pull that off when I'm done. So there's that. This is a 30-inch hula hoop. You could do any size you want depending on how big you want your rug to be when you're done. This one makes a nice size, smallish rug. So definitely a good way to go with that. 30 inches is good, and they have this size at the dollar store. You can go smaller or bigger if you want. You could also make, this is going to be your loom. The hula hoop becomes the loom. You could also make a loom out of cardboard if you want, just a big huge circle, and then you'd cut little notches all the way around that cardboard where you'd feed this on. And that actually would keep these from sliding around the hula hoop, because that definitely happens. Okay, let's get these taped down a little bit. And I would go around and tape down all of these, but just to show you how to get started. I won't get them all taped down right at the moment. We'll just get some of them so they're not moving around on us. And you might even take measuring tape or a ruler and just measure that these are all equally the same distance apart on your hula hoop. This one looks like it could be taped down here. Okay, so now to get started, you're going to want to do a couple different colors maybe for your beautiful rug. I did quite a few colors on the other one. Yeah, so that one was kind of fun. This one I think I'm going to do like gray and black and white, or maybe just gray and white for a really cute rug. So we still have the strips like this. One thing I didn't do is pull these, kind of give them a pull, stretch out that yarn, stretch out that t-shirt to make t-shirt yarn, which ends up being almost circular once you've stretched that out. Can you see? It doesn't look like this one anymore. This was not stretched out. This is stretched out. So when I did mine, I didn't stretch it out, so you can see a lot of that edge. And this really is t-shirt yarn. So stretch it, give it a nice stretch as you're going around, and that curls it up and makes that t-shirt yarn versus these weird kind of rectangular chunks like that with the edges. So this looks so much better. That was another thing that kind of went wrong on mine. Mine doesn't look as great. You can see a lot of that, those edges of my, here's a piece, just kind of, they're just not great in there. I have to kind of tuck them in. So that is something I did wrong. We're definitely going to want to fix that. So now what you're going to do is take, let me see if I lost my scissor. Yep. Take a scissor and we're going to open those loops up. You've got a couple choices. On mine, I did double when I first went around, and you could do that. That kind of makes it faster, so you could do this without cutting it up. Maybe we'll do that for the first round so I can show you that, and then we'll cut the next one. So let's take our first round. We've got this still in a loop. I'm going to just kind of get it around the middle here and attach it by making a little slip knot around the middle of those loops that come together in the middle of my spokes. I did a little slip knot just to get started and attach this. And another thing I did wrong was, remember I only did 4 of these loops to make 8 spokes. This time I'm going to do 6 of these to make 12 spokes. But what I did wrong on the last time is I had an even number of spokes. I had 8 of these. Actually, these are your weft. I learned that word too. So this is our weft. I had even pieces of weft, and that doesn't make this work when you're weaving. So I kept having like to go over 2 at different spots because it doesn't weave correctly. So you want an odd number of weft pieces. So in order to do that, I'm just going to slide 2 of these together. Good thing I didn't tape them all down yet. Slide 2 together so that now we only have 11 of these weft spokes coming out of the middle. So that was another mistake. Okay, now we've got 11 because I hooked, I hooked these 2 together. I'm just going to tape those down for sure so they don't slide apart. Those will become 1. We'll just act like that's 1 piece there. I've got it taped down. Now we can start weaving in and out of our weft. And we're using double on this one. You can continue that way if you want. Makes it a little faster probably because you've got a thicker piece of t-shirt yarn. Let's keep going. Another mistake I made is, I think I mentioned that, is not cutting my t-shirt strips the same width. You would want to vary the width, I think, if you're using different weight of t-shirts. So if you had one that was 100% cotton and is kind of a thick t-shirt, you would want to use maybe a little thinner strip than a t-shirt that isn't as much cotton. So if you don't have a choice with how much cotton is in the t-shirts you're using, then adjust the width of the strip that you're cutting out. I made mine all the same, which wasn't good once we got to that point where I was adding in different kinds of t-shirts. So that's something to keep in mind. All right, you can see I'm just going in and out of the weft, up and down through these, and I'm going around this whole weft. You can tell that each one of these pieces of weft actually has 2 because of the way we went around with the t-shirt. Don't worry about that part yet. We will not be doing anything with that at this point, and then I'll show you what to do next. Okay, let me make sure what I did wrong here. Okay, so we're going to keep going around and getting this filled in. Doubling it is kind of nice for this. Okay, now we're in pretty good shape. Now to connect them, you have a couple choices. I'm going to stretch this one back out so that we have another one to hook on. We have a couple ways that we can attach these. If we're using the whole loop, I'm just going to do a little slip knot there to hook them together so we don't have to do any tying or anything. And then get your knot pretty tight so it doesn't stick up out of there. So now we're going to keep going around. And just keep going. But I'm going to show you, once we get a little bit further out on this, this is going to be our center. Once we get further out on our weaving, we're going to split these weft pieces into 2 by spreading them out like that. Right now we're going to go around the whole thing. If otherwise it makes it too wide in the middle. So we want to get around there a little ways. I think I'd go even further than these two that I'm putting on before you split and go in between all those spokes. Okay, there I have two pieces. So this project, if you're using a 30-inch hula hoop, is going to take about 6 to 7 extra large t-shirts. So if your t-shirts are mediums, you're probably going to need a few more. All right, so now we have a pretty good start on our gray and white, maybe black if I find some black t-shirts that will add into this. Kind of think through your pattern first. That was another mistake. I did not really think through this. I just started grabbing t-shirts and weaving, and it's not the most attractive color combination. I think the cats will love it, but yeah, for a rug then, this one I was like, oh gosh, gray and white would be really cool. So that's what this one will turn out to be. And another thing to do maybe is to get all these pieces, after you've cut them, go ahead and get them all stretched out. Make yourself a little pile so you can just keep on going around. I'm gonna loop these back together again with just a slip knot so I don't have a big knot bulging out. And then I'm gonna also show you a way, if we hadn't done these in double strands and we had decided to just do a single strand and weave around, I'm gonna show you how to connect the single strands without tying a knot too. So let's do that. Let's open this one up, because we might want to do that when we get further around. We may not want these doubled. So I'm going to open up one of the white pieces and one of the gray pieces, and we're going to connect those without tying a big heavy knot that's going to stick out, or if you step on your rug, you're going to feel that knot in your shoe or your foot. So how we're going to connect these without tying them together in a knot, we're going to fold this over, and we're just going to cut a little slit right here. It doesn't go through all the way to the end. Do that on this one too. Just fold over a little bit of the edge, cut a little slit that doesn't go all the way through. There we go. When I open it up, there's a nice little slit there. So I've got the two pieces with the slit. Go ahead and put one through the other, and then you take the other piece of your white on this side and go back through the one that you just pulled up through there. And this makes a kind of a cool loopy fastener between the two. Look at that. When I pull that tight, you get a pretty flat knot in there. And it will not come out. And we didn't have to tie a big knot in it. So if you're trying to do single pieces of your t-shirt yarn, let's stretch this one out to actually make it into yarn and not t-shirt pieces. If you're trying to do that with singles, that's totally fine too. And in fact, when you're cutting your t-shirt up, you're going to end up with some singles. You're going to cut across the body, but then up toward the neck, or maybe even the arms, you're going to have singles. So this is a great way to connect those. And you can just make one big ball of your yarn by connecting with those little slit and loop closures. Okay, so we are going around here, and I'll show you how, when we split, how that looks like when we split our weft into two pieces. I would probably go out a little further before I do that, but we'll connect one more on, and then you'll get the idea of what we're doing. And then I'm going to show you how to finish it without actually finishing this one. Let's get another piece of the gray that's hooked together. So for now, I'm going around with a double piece that's weaving through. Let's reconnect these. All right, so now here we go. We're going to make this one go around, and then I'm going to show you how to split, which is easy. But it looks cool too, because then you're going to have more weaving to go in and out of. As you get out a ways, you can see these are way farther apart than they were in the middle. And that splitting is going to help us with that. So let's just say this is the point where I want to split. Now I'm going to take some of these and just open them up a little. I can leave where they're at, but if here's where I'm going to start, I'm going to go in between these right now. So if we went up and over and down, we just want to do the exact same thing here. And now we're going to go through these, and you'll just do the opposite when you come back through it on the next round. So now I'm just splitting my weft in two. It'll get easier as you've done a couple rounds with it split. Now, these aren't going to be as far apart. You may want to retape these and kind of open them up. That works too, to keep things together. Now, we are going to have even more in between here, more of our weft spokes to weave through. So here is the start of a really cool, and I think this one's going to be great because I did stretch it out. I made it into yarn instead of just these loose, here's a loose piece of that one. Not so good. Cats will love it, but doesn't look so great. Now, if we could change colors too, if we wanted to change to white and have a couple rows of white in there, that would be really cool. We can do that. So in order to finish this, once you've gone all the way around and you're way out here at the edge, leave just a little space, maybe just like a pinch here between where you're weaving and this piece, because we want to be able to tie a knot there. So we'll use this one as an example. Let's just say I've gone around all the way around through and I'm all the way out here. So I'm going to untie this and I'll show you what to do to finish it. And it's super easy because, again, it's not no sewing, no gluing, no messing around. It's just a couple of knots to finish it off. So if we've made it all the way around and now we're out here, what you're going to do one by one is cut the end of the loop here of the weft. So now we've cut that and our weaving is here. We're just going to slip it off of there. And if our weaving was all the way out here, now I'm just going to tie that around the last row of the weaving that was going through. So if here's our row that went through, okay, there's our last row that went through. I'm just going to tie around it so that row doesn't come loose. And I'm going to tie a nice little knot right here at the end. And it will look like this. The last row will be pushed up against there, and you'll have a nice little knot that holds that row in. I'll show you that on the cat bed one. So you'll go and just one by one, you're going to clip these and tie that knot, and it makes a cute kind of little knot and bit of your t-shirt yarn at the end outside. So this one, I had done the weft in this lime green. So here's where I cut it. If you don't go as far on here, you could have kind of cute little longer pieces sticking out. But you can see I just tied that. I cut it and tied it around the very last one. And that holds all of that weaving in our rug. And there you go. And this could be longer. Like I said, if you wanted that longer, or you could tie another little piece of your t-shirt yarn around it with a different color and make little tassels coming out. If you don't want to see this knot, what you can do once you've got it tied really tight is weave this open end back and forth through and kind of tuck it in like this. I would just weave it in and out, maybe even tie it back to the weft itself, where deeper down in here where we wouldn't see it. I think that's what I would do, is just weave it down in there and then tie it. And now you just see kind of a little bump at the end on that one. And you would do the same with that. So you just have a little bit of color popping out there instead of kind of a little tassel or fringe on your rug or your cat bed, however it turns out. So here you go. I can't wait to see what you guys do. Hopefully I gave you a few tips on what not to do, because that's kind of how this one turned out for me. I'm definitely excited to finish this one and see how it goes, because I think it's going to be pretty cool. I'll try to post a picture of this when I get it finished. But if you guys make one of these, please post your picture, because I can't wait to see how it turns out. And this could be a really fun gift for a family member or somebody going off to college. Would be a cute dorm rug. Lots of options. So have fun. See you next time.